Well, hello ADMG 475, Executing Project Management Level 2. Let's talk about Chapter 14. Chapter 14 is all about project progress and results. So in contemporary project management, we are referring to Chapter 14, Determining Project Progress and Results. Now, relating this back to the PMI PMBOK, we're back to Chapter 4 into Project Integration Management, but we've got a emphasis on 4.4, Monitor and Control Project Work. So when we're looking at the PMBOK, integrated integration management processes, there are a number of processes in integration management, but we're going to focus on 4.4, monitor and control, project work, and on 4.5, performing integrated change control, because integrated change control is just so important to controlling project work. Let's talk about that in a little bit here. So we want to determine project progress, and in order to do that, we first need to evaluate the status of the project, and this requires analysis. And in order to do an analysis, we typically have to talk to other people. We need to talk to we need to get a lot of input, and we need to get input from our team, our suppliers, our partners. We need to talk to a lot of people to find out how things are really going. Now, this requires a great deal of trust in the information that is received. So when we talk to our suppliers, we need to know that our suppliers are giving us the true story. When we ask them, how is it going on creating, or are you going to be able to deliver on time our widgets that we need to go into what we're building, we need to rely on and trust the information that we receive. When we ask people for a status on a particular portion, a task, we need them to give us a fair assessment. If they're writing a particular portion of code for an application, and we ask them, how's that going? And they tell us, oh, we're 90% completed. We need to trust that that information is correct, because we're going to report back to our sponsors and our management with that information. So it requires the ability to verify as needed. So there's an old adage in security, trust but verify, and as project managers, we need the same thing. We need to be able to trust the information that we're receiving, but we also want built-in ability to verify, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well. So monitoring and controlling. When we're talking about monitoring, we're talking about collecting project performance data with respect to the plan, and we're talking about comparing what those against measures. We're talking about comparing that data against performance measures, and then reporting and disseminating all of that information. So different projects will have different performance measurements that we're going to use to report performance data. But that's what we're talking about doing here. We're talking about gathering this data and comparing it. Now, when we're talking about controlling, now here we're talking about looking at the actual performance against the planned performance. A lot of earned value management here. We analyze the variances. We look for why. Why do we have a variance? What is happening? Is there a process that requires improvement? Is there something that happened? Is there somewhere we need to get involved? We need to possibly evaluate alternatives, make recommendations for corrective action when needed. So controlling is all about comparing what we said we would do against how we actually did, and figuring out why that was different and putting in corrective actions as needed. Now, a variance is a quantifiable deviation, departure, or divergence away from a known baseline or an expected value. So 3 things we seek to monitor and control are scope, changes, risks, and quality. Typically, when we're reporting on progress, those are three big things that go into a performance report. So, project control and the CCB. So, first of all, there are two types of project control. One is steering and one is go, no go. All right, so steering is all about making sure that the project stays on track, or if it deviates from being on track, we get it back on track, right? We make corrective actions and we move it back into the right directions. Now, go, no-go decisions are very different. It's exactly what it sounds like. I have been involved in a number of project status meetings where it was a go, no-go decision, meaning, are we going to continue with this project? Is the project still on track? Is it still on budget? Is it still viable? In some cases, because remember, projects are things that we do that we've never done before. So along the way, we may determine that what we're doing isn't even viable. I mean, maybe we're trying to develop something new and we find out we can't. It's just not the technology. We're trying to develop a new technology and we're just not ready. We're just not there. We don't have the expertise. We don't have the materials. We don't, for whatever reason, the project is no longer a viable project. So a go or no-go decision may be made. Sometimes these are referred to as off-ramps, opportunities for off-ramp, meaning it gives our sponsors an opportunity to say, you know, we're going to pull the plug on the project. We're not going to continue to pour money into a project that doesn't have the likelihood of being successful. So keep that in mind. Project control can be steering or it can be no-go decisions. Both compare our actual performance against the project plan. So back to earned value management. Although EVM is not necessarily a skill that we push in this class, there are other classes where EVM is the focus of what you're trying to learn. And again, it's for performance reporting. Integrated change control, we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but we understand that it's the process of reviewing all change requests that come forward for the project. And it's really about having a formal process in place for bringing changes forward so that we can review them, approve them, and manage them, meaning how will they impact the deliverables? How are they going to impact the schedule? How are they going to impact our costs? And having an opportunity to approve these changes and then make sure that we get extra schedule or extra money budget to manage the extra work that's being done. We need to update project documents. We need to update our project management plan. And then we need to make sure to communicate all of this information. And why do we do this? It's so that scope of work doesn't derail our project. And remember, scope of work, part of the triple constraint. When we are adding a bunch of scope to the project, we're adding schedule cost, we're adding schedule time, we're adding budget cost, and without properly reviewing, approving these changes, without getting more scope, without getting more budget, without getting more schedule or budget, we can quickly cause our project to be really in trouble, and then we have to report back, and boy, that's a bad thing. So controlling project risk and managing communication. So let's talk about controlling risks. Now we've gone through and we've identified our risks. We know what they are. We need to monitor and we need to track them, and controlling risks is all about tracking the risks we've identified and monitoring them, evaluating risks, and making sure that everything is going along fine. We're constantly concerned about identifying new risks as well. We don't want to sit back and think that just because we did all this work with our risk management plan, those are the only risks that will ever come up and ever impact our project. Well, that we know just isn't true. So controlling the risks is a process of implementing risk response plans if needed, tracking the identified risks, monitoring residual risks, identifying new risks, and evaluating risk process effectiveness throughout the project. Now, managing communications is, well, getting that information out there. It's the process of creating. What we're going to be creating this week is project performance reporting, is the process of creating, distributing, storing, retrieving, and the ultimate disposition of project information in accordance with the written communication management plan. That's why we go through the process of determining what are we going to report, who are we going to give that information to, when are we going to do all of this stuff. So it's all about the what information needs, who needs to know it, what needs to be communicated, and when do we communicate it. All right, so project managers collect information from a variety of different types of questions. How well is this particular activity proceeding in terms of time and budget? How well is the entire project proceeding? How much money will we need? How much money will need to be spent to finish the project? That's always a good one. To what extent does the quality of the work meet the requirements? Again, back to quality. Quality is part of our assessment. We want to make sure we're assessing quality. How many hours of human resource time have we used to complete the activities compared to how much we estimated? Again, earned value management. What methods are we using? Have we used that are worth repeating? Lessons learned. What methods have we used that need to be improved? Continuous process improvement. And then what evidence do we have to support? Again, remember, we always need to have evidence to support what we're doing. So work performance reporting includes gathering work performance data and using it to create work performance reports. Work performance data are the raw observations and measurements identified during activities being performed to carry out project work. So work performance information is the performance data that's collected from various controlling process, analyzed in context, and integrated based on relationships across areas. We're reporting on past, present, and future performance. You'll see that in the template that you're going to be using to do your project performance reporting. And then finally, we're going to talk about quality. And quality is all about performing those audits. Remember, we need to do quality auditing in order to be able to perform quality reporting. So quality control consists of monitoring the project to ensure that everything is proceeding exactly as we expect it to. When we identify things that need to be fixed, that we're taking appropriate actions, whether they are preventive actions or corrective actions. We need to repair defects. We can't let defects just sit. So if we find that something is wrong, we need to make sure that we provide a way to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future. But we also need to repair any defects if possible. We also need to worry about determining root causes for problems. We provide specific measurements for quality assurance. We're providing recommendations for corrective actions when needed, and we're implementing approved changes as directed. Financial control is all about controlling scope, schedule, and costs. We use earned value management to do that. Costs and schedules are considered independently, right? So we can be under budget and ahead of schedule. We can be under budget and behind schedule. We can be over budget and under schedule, etc. You get the idea. All earned value terms deal with one of two particular time frames. Each represents either the current status as of the last date of the project where we gathered, or a prediction for the end of the project. All right, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. I hope you enjoy this look at doing project performance. management, often there are entire classes on this concept, so you're kind of getting a whole lot thrown at you in a short amount of time, but I hope you do enjoy it, and don't hesitate to let me know how I can help.